So welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to find out why our Lexus didn't start. And if you are wondering what I'm talking about, the link up above will get you up to speed. Now, as of the filming of this video, nobody had guessed. Nobody had even come close. And that's because you guys are guessing mechanical or electrical. This one, all body related. It's caused by an everyday repair that was done incorrectly. I see it a lot. In all the times I've ever seen it, I've never seen it cause a no start. But there's a first time for everything. Things just worked out for the worst. It happens. So let's dig into it and see how I got this thing fixed. So the cause of our no start was a chain of unfortunate events, starting with an incorrect windshield replacement. When they put the windshield in, they didn't use any primer. So any bare metal that they had started to rust, and the urethane itself did not adhere to the paint. It started to pull away from the body and started to rust. Now, there is a hack fix to this hack repair, and that would be just to pump more urethane in there, and it'll seal it up for a little bit of time, but eventually it's all going to rot out and start doing the same thing all over again. So the only correct way to repair it is to grind all of that out of there. Actually had to weld up some holes that were rotted in it, prime it, paint it, put some urethane primer on there, put some urethane on, and then reinstall our windshield. So we ground everything out, reprimed it. Now we're going to send it over to the painter and then call the glass guys. The glass broke when it came out, so I had to buy a new windshield, so I'll let the glass guys install that one. So now on to fix what that problem caused and why it wouldn't start. So for that, we have to pull the interior out. As long as I've got the carpet out, we'll be able to access those O2 sensor plugs. Thanks, Toyota. So we're going to take the driver's seat out. Just pull the little covers off so we can access the rear bolts. Unbolt them. Unbolt the seatbelt while we're here. So now we got the seat centered over the track. We can lift it out. I'll pull the rear seat out. Just lifts up, then slides down and forward. Fish the seat belts out of there. That's ready to come out. I'm going to take the passenger seat out. Pop those little covers off. Use a pick to release the tabs. Now we can get to the bolts. Pull the sill plate off while we're here. Now we can move the seat forward so we can get to the rear bolts. Pull the headrest off. Try. Roof's a little low. Tilt the seat back and pop it out of there. Just makes it easier to get the seat out when it's not as tall. Now we can pull our covers off for the rear bolts. Unbolt our seat. Try to figure out exactly what they got going on there. That is not an OEM installation. Unbolt the seat belt. So now we can pull our seat out. Now onto the console. Gear shift just unscrews. Spin it off of there. We can pull our little trim panels on the side off. They just pop out, lift them up and pull back. We can take our top cover off on the gear shift. Just unsnaps. Get the little pick in there and pull it out. Disconnect the plug for our heated and cooled seats. Now we take the rear vent cover off the back. There's some bolts in there we gotta get to. Now we can remove the ashtray or coin tray, whatever you want to call it. Although I wouldn't put cigarettes in there. It's carpeted. So we can get to our bolts up in the front now. Bolts in the center. And the bolts in the rear. And then just pull it straight back. Unsnap it from the bottom of the dash. And we got a little bit more room, we can get our plugs out. These are less than convenient. Very similar to the O2 sensors. We can pull our sill plate off the driver's side rear. And our B-pillar trim. The wiring harness clips also hold the carpeting in, so you just unsnap them and pull the carpeting out from inside them. Sometimes the engineers were thinking. I'll pull the carpet off the tabs up in the center. Now we can take our sill plate off of our passenger side in the rear. And our B-pillar trim. Unclip our carpeting. Unclip it from under the dash. Fish our wires through for our seat. Now we can take the footrest off on the driver's side. Just pulls off. If you reach back behind it, you can get it started. And just pull it off. Fish our wires through for our driver's seat. And then pull the carpeting out from under the driver's side of the dash. And now we'll pull our carpeting out. And here's our problem. Our car is a fish tank. So we'll drain the water. It's nice of Lexus to put some removable plugs in there. Get a little water in our sponge here. It's clean water. It rained a ton, and that's why this problem showed up when it did. So we'll dry out our sponges. Dry out the floor. Get an air hose in there and blow everything out. We got everything draining. Carpet, our padding. I'll have a tutorial on how to properly do this. And no, putting it in the sun is not the proper way. So now that our carpeting is all dry, we'll put our plug back in, put all of our padding back in, so we got something to soak up the water next time. Oh look, the O2 sensor wires. They're easy to get to now. Unfold our carpeting. Yes, I cleaned it, so the clean freaks can relax. I know it was bugging you guys when I took it out. Fish our wires through for our seat. It's always good to do that beforehand. It's not fun when you get the whole carpet in and then realize that you buried the wires for the seats and have to take it all apart again. Or so I've been told. Tuck our carpeting in around the ductwork. And then clip it back into the clips on the side. Clip our carpeting in on the driver's side. Now we put our console back in. Set it into place. Slide it forward, lock it into the bottom of the dash. Bolt it in. Plug it in. The bolts in the rear, and put that rear cover on. Turn it over there, buddy. Snap it in. Bolt the front of it in. Put our ashtray / coin tray in. Just slides in the front. And then it has 2 bolts that hold it down in the back. Screws, I guess. Then put the top console piece in. Plug in our seat controls. Just snap it into place. Put our gear shift on. Spin it on there and tighten it down. Clip our little trim panels in. Check our little cover, make sure it works. Now we can put our B-pillar trim in on the passenger side. Put our sill plate trim in. Clip it in the front. Tuck the weather stripping in around it. Then clip it in on the bottom. Make sure you hit it the correct amount of times. Put our rear sill plate in. Now we can put our rear seat in. Got a little ahead of myself there. Probably should have done that sill plate in the back, but we'll make it work. Slide the back into place. And then fish the seat belts through. And once you get the seat belts through, connect them. That'll keep them from falling back through. And if they do, you just pull up on the belt and they'll come out. It beats fishing them out of there 16 times. Push the seat back into place and then push it down to clip it in. Unbuckle our seatbelts. Now onto the driver's side, we'll put our B-pillar trim on. Put our rear sill plate on, which is easier without the seat, but we'll make it work. And we put our front sill plate on. Snap it in the front, snap it down, correct amount of hits. Now we can bolt our seatbelt in. Now we can bolt the passenger side seatbelt in. So if you're wondering how that water could cause a no start, well, it was running down inside the dash. There's a little bit of remnants here where it caused the dash inner structure to rust, but it got into what they call the ID code box, which is a not so fancy term for the thing that basically senses the keyless entry. Even though the remote worked and everything, it wasn't seeing the proper resistance. So the diagnostic flow chart led me to it. I took it out, planned on replacing it, realized it was full of water, cleaned it out, dried it off, took a chance and threw it back in, and it's been fine ever since. Now we can throw the footrest back in on the driver's side. Just pushes in. Somebody's been here before. So the dum-dums had dum-dum holding the cover on instead of putting it on right. It took me a minute and I had to take things back apart to figure it out, but I think I got it. Okay. There we go. Now we can plug this back in. You need that after all. Now we put our driver's seat back in. Drop it down in there. Clip all the wires in. Screw it in the front. And screw it in the rear. Put our headrest in. Put the seat back. Now we put the passenger seat in. Same way. Just a different side. Connect all our wires. Put our bolts in there. Tighten down our bolts in the back. And down our bolts in the front. Put our covers back on, they just snap on. And put our floor mats back in. These were also cleaned. Now we'll put our headrest back in. Finally learn to tilt the seat back. Put our covers on the rear seat track bolts. And install our floor mats. So there it is, it's all done. New glass, no more leaks, runs just fine. Take care of the paint work on the doors. And on the deck lid. Interior somewhat clean. I have been driving it, so it did get a little dirty. Look at that, clear headlights. Everyone can relax. They're not foggy anymore. And for everyone that said I should have cleaned them when I had them out, apparently you haven't cleaned very many headlights. Buffing them is much easier when something's holding them. Otherwise, it's like herding cats. So when they're bolted into the car, you just run the buffer over them. Couldn't be simpler. Even with the windshield and the interior, bodywork, and the engine, I had less than 20 hours in this build. Pretty quick. It was supposed to be a one-day job. Turned out to be a little bit more. It was one day to get it running the first time, and a few more hours to get it running the second time. So the build is done, and I'm sitting here in the car. That could only mean it's time for one thing. What's in my console? Doesn't sound like bolts. Water. Now we got a place for our bolts. What else do we have in here? AC compressor. An alternator. ECM. Belt tensioner. It's a deceptively large console. This car doesn't even have a turbo. That looks like it. No dictionaries in this one. No foggy headlights either. So like the video if you found it interesting. Share it if you think somebody else might. Subscribe if you want to see more builds. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. Relax, guys, I'm picking it up.